On a quiet Sunday afternoon in the small town of San Pedro, an unusual stillness blanketed the streets, in stark contrast to the warm atmosphere inside the historic St. Francis of Assisi church. Father Michael, a middle-aged priest, was preparing the altar for the evening mass, unwavering in his mission despite the growing threats and violence that had recently plagued the community. He firmly believed that faith would prevail over darkness. As he arranged the altar, two intimidating men entered the church. Locals known to Father Michael as troublemakers connected to a criminal group. They threatened him, demanding that he abandon his mission to help those in need. Although fear gripped him, Father Michael stood his ground, declaring that the church was a sanctuary for all. Just as one of the men drew a gun, a small gray cat unexpectedly strolled into the church, drawing everyone's attention. The cat, with its regal posture and piercing gaze, exuded an air of calm. As it positioned itself between Father Michael and the armed intruders, the atmosphere inside the church shifted noticeably. The men, who initially seemed confident, began to waver under the cat's steady gaze. The lights flickered brighter, and a sudden gust of wind swept through the sanctuary, as if touched by a divine presence. Father Michael, emboldened by the cat's presence, declared that the church belonged to God and that the men had no power there. Their bravado crumbled, and one of them, overcome by emotion, dropped to his knees, confessing that he could no longer continue down the path of violence. The cat moved closer to him, offering a quiet sense of comfort, causing the man to break down in tears. In a moment of spiritual awakening, the men realized they had the power to choose a different path. Father Michael encouraged them to seek forgiveness and redemption. The church, once a place filled with fear, became a beacon of hope. The small cat remained like a silent guardian, embodying the strength of faith and the power to inspire change in the human heart. What began as a night of menace transformed into a testimony to the power of compassion, forever altering the lives of the two men. This time our story shifts from cats to the noble heart of a wolf mother. In the wilderness of Alaska, a gold miner named John stumbled upon a female wolf trapped in a snare. Realizing she was a mother with hungry pups nearby, John made a crucial decision. Instead of freeing the wolf immediately, he set out to find her pups. Tracking their trail through the dense forest, he eventually located the den and found the starving wolf cubs. Carefully gathering them, John returned them to their mother. At first, the mother wolf growled and bristled with aggression, protective of her young. But John, with patience and persistence, slowly earned her trust by providing food and spending time with the wolf family. Over the next few days, John visited the wolf regularly, checking the traps and building a tentative connection with the animal. When the time finally came to release her, John cautiously freed her from the snare. To his surprise, instead of fleeing immediately, the wolf licked his hand, a gesture of gratitude, before gathering her cubs and leading them away. John followed them at a distance until they reached a meadow, where the wolf family reunited with a larger pack. Moved by the encounter, John returned to his mining camp, carrying the memory of that day close to his heart. 4 years later, after serving in World War II, John returned to the same region. While exploring the forest, he stumbled upon the old rusted trap that had once held the wolf mother captive. Feeling a surge of nostalgia, he climbed the mountain to the meadow where the reunion had taken place years ago. There, he howled like a wolf, a hopeful call into the wild. To his astonishment, the same mother wolf emerged from the forest, her tail wagging in recognition. She lingered for a moment, then disappeared back into the woods, leaving John with a sense of connection that transcended time and species. This story reveals the profound gratitude animals can feel, wild creatures included. It reminds us that acts of kindness have lasting impacts, even in the natural world, encouraging us to give love freely wherever we can. Here is another heartwarming tale of a remarkable she-wolf. In a small village nestled at the foot of a mountain lived Mrs. Wang, a respected 60-year-old healer known for her kindness and skill in caring for the villagers. One day, while gathering herbs in the forest, she came across a distressed female wolf struggling after a difficult birth. Though fear gripped her initially, Mrs. Wang decided to help the creature. She gave the wolf a medicinal pill she always carried to stop severe bleeding, usually reserved for human emergencies. With Mrs. Wang's gentle care, the wolf successfully delivered 4 healthy pups. Realizing the exhausted wolf needed nourishment, Mrs. Wang hurried back to the village. She visited a local hunter who generously provided her with a large cut of meat. Mrs. Wang then climbed the mountain once more to offer the food to the mother wolf and her pups. The wolf accepted the offering with gratitude, and Mrs. Wang felt deep fulfillment in fulfilling her calling as a healer, even for a wild creature. Not long after, as Mrs. Wang was boiling herbs at home, disaster struck. A fire broke out in her small house, trapping her inside. Overcome by smoke, she was on the verge of collapsing when, out of nowhere, the same wolf she had saved burst into the burning house. Despite the flames and suffering burns, the wolf managed to drag Mrs. Wang to safety. Villagers, witnessing the wolf's bravery, allowed it to remain by Mrs. Wang's side while she recovered. As Mrs. Wang regained her strength, a unique bond formed between her and the wolf. During the day, the wolf would roam the mountains, hunting to provide for its pups. At night, it stood guard outside Mrs. Wang's home, offering protection. Their connection grew deeper, demonstrating that kindness and respect transcend species. This touching story reflects the power of compassion and gratitude, showing that love given freely always finds its way back. It's a tale worth sharing far and wide, reminding us that every act of kindness has the potential to create extraordinary connections. Our next incredible story takes place in the quiet suburb of Maplewood, where 10-year-old Tommy Andrews lived with his best friend, a large Old English sheepdog named Buddy. Although Buddy originally belonged to the Wilsons, an elderly couple next door, the dog spent most of his time with Tommy. Their bond grew unbreakable as they shared countless afternoons playing, exploring, and reading stories together. One late August afternoon, while Tommy was playing with Buddy in the front yard, 2 strangers approached, claiming they were searching for a missing puppy. Though Tommy felt uneasy, he didn't realize the danger, but Buddy sensed it immediately. When one of the strangers lunged at Tommy, Buddy leapt to his defense. However, the attackers overpowered Buddy, injuring him severely, and kidnapped Tommy, taking him to an abandoned warehouse. Buddy was rushed to a veterinary hospital for emergency surgery. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the attending veterinarian, noticed something extraordinary in the dog's will to survive. Buddy wasn't just fighting for his life, he had a mission. After his recovery, Buddy was determined to find Tommy, refusing to stay behind. Guided by Buddy's sharp instincts, the police were able to track down the warehouse where Tommy was being held. They found him frightened but unharmed. The emotional reunion between Tommy and Buddy was a moment no one would forget, and Buddy was hailed as a hero by the entire community. The story of Buddy's bravery and unwavering loyalty captured nationwide attention, inspiring people everywhere. In the aftermath of the incident, the Maplewood community implemented new safety measures. The Wilsons and Tommy's family, recognizing Buddy's special connection with Tommy, decided that Buddy would now officially live between their 2 homes. As Tommy grew up, the experience shaped his future. He became a police officer and specialized as a K-9 handler, dedicating his career to working with rescue dogs and helping children in need. 5 years later, the town of Maplewood honored Buddy by building a park in his memory, a place where families could gather, play with their dogs, and celebrate the unique bonds between humans and animals. The spirit of Buddy lives on in the hearts of those who knew his story, reminding everyone of the limitless love, courage, and loyalty that pets offer. Most of all, it celebrates the deep connection between pets and their owners, a relationship that transcends words and time. Horses are not just racers, they are also silent heroes. Our story takes place at Willow Creek Ranch, where Jack Thornton, an experienced farmer, lived with his beloved horse, Thunder. Thunder wasn't merely a horse, he was Jack's closest companion, tied to many precious memories, especially after Jack's wife, Sarah, had passed away. Thunder became Jack's anchor through the difficult times, offering silent comfort. One fateful morning, as Jack was tending to Thunder, 2 men named Tom and Mike were practicing target shooting nearby. In an unfortunate accident, one of their stray bullets hit Thunder, severely injuring the horse's leg. Jack rushed Thunder back to the stable and called Dr. Sarah Thompson, a veterinarian. After examining Thunder, she delivered difficult news. The horse had suffered a broken bone and muscle tissue damage. She warned Jack that horses rarely recover well from such injuries, and Jack was faced with a heartbreaking choice, whether to put Thunder down to prevent suffering or attempt an uncertain recovery. Despite the odds and the emotional weight of the decision, Jack chose not to give up on Thunder. He committed himself to caring for his loyal friend, determined to see him through. The days that followed were an arduous journey for both Jack and Thunder. Jack cleaned the wounds, performed rehabilitation exercises, and stayed by Thunder's side, sharing stories of their past adventures and his hopes for the future. His unwavering patience and love became the foundation of Thunder's slow recovery. Day by day, Thunder began to heal, and their bond deepened, becoming even stronger than before. As winter melted into spring, Jack decided it was time to fulfill a promise he had made, to ride Thunder again. Under Dr. Thompson's supervision, Jack gently prepared Thunder for their first ride since the injury. Thunder could no longer gallop the way he once did, but as they rode through the ranch fields together, the excitement and trust between them made the moment unforgettable. This story isn't just about recovery. It's a lesson in friendship, perseverance, and the power of love. Jack and Thunder overcame tremendous challenges, proving that with patience and trust, anything is possible. Their journey became a living symbol of the unbreakable bond between humans and animals, reminding us that even in life's darkest moments, hope can bloom and miracles are possible. In the end, Thunder conquered his pain, and Jack found healing in the process too. Together, they taught us that victory isn't always about speed or strength. It's about the courage to keep going, no matter how tough the road may be. The story begins with Foka Sergeyev, a solitary fisherman living in Kalino, Russia. After the passing of his beloved wife, his life was simple, revolving around daily chores, cooking, hunting, and fishing. Fishing in particular brought him joy, allowing him to reminisce about his adventurous past aboard fishing boats with old friends. It was not just a hobby, but a lifeline, connecting him to memories of companionship and purpose. One quiet afternoon, while Foka was fishing by the riverbank as usual, a strange presence interrupted his solitude. At first, he didn't notice anything unusual until a shadow loomed beside him. Startled, he turned and found himself face to face with a large brown bear. Wet from the river and visibly in distress, the bear stood still, as if asking for help. Despite his experience with the wild, Foka felt both fear and empathy for the creature. The bear's paw was injured, a large thorn embedded deep into its flesh. Foka hesitated briefly but decided to act. Donning a glove, he slowly approached the bear, whispering soothing words as if the animal could understand. With careful precision, he removed the thorn. The bear let out a low growl, not in anger, but in relief. Grateful, the bear lingered for a moment as if to acknowledge Foka's kindness. As a gesture of goodwill, Foka threw the bear the largest fish he had just caught. The bear snatched it up eagerly and, with a final glance at the old fisherman, retreated into the forest. Foka could imagine that somewhere deep in the woods, a family of cubs was waiting for their mother to bring them dinner. Though Foka told his friends about the extraordinary encounter, most dismissed it as a fantasy or the dream of a lonely old man. Yet Foka knew it was real, a moment that would remain etched in his heart forever. He hadn't just helped an animal that day. In some way, the experience had helped him too. For in that brief exchange, Foka found a connection to life once more. A reminder that kindness and empathy, even toward a wild creature, can bridge the isolation we often feel. Though he continued his simple life in Kalino, Foka would often return to that spot by the river, hoping to see the bear again. Whether or not it returned didn't matter. What mattered was the memory of that remarkable moment, a quiet testament to how, even in life's solitude, unexpected friendships can emerge. Parallel to Foka's experience in Russia, a separate incident unfolded in California, where a grizzly bear found itself trapped on a bridge after panicking from traffic noise and leaping over the railing. Despite its precarious situation, the bear remained calm for 24 hours while awaiting rescue. Emergency responders eventually arrived and used a large safety net to lift the bear to safety. Though shaken, the bear was unharmed and taken to a rehabilitation center. This incident parallels Foka's compassionate act in Russia, showcasing the bond between humans and animals. Both stories highlight the importance of empathy and respect for wildlife, reminding us of our role as caretakers of nature. The bond between animals and humans is expressed not only through our beloved pets like dogs and cats, but also through wildlife, showing us their warmth, in contrast to their coldness and ferocity. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Goodbye and see you again.